People often misunderstood what a home really is. They see it as a static place, usually as a house or an apartment. This is a basic mix-up. Four walls don't afford absolute security against the things that go bump at night. The protection a home gives you isn't based on ownership or physical barriers, but feeling. The gist of it is, if you think you're safe, and if you don't. Think of two different scenarios. In one, you are lying down, cozy in your bed. Your parents are asleep in their beds down the hall. Perhaps you have a sibling near you as well. Your beloved pet is sleeping next to you. If you yell for help, your dad will come running immediately, wielding a baseball bat. In the other, you are alone in your house, lying in bed in the darkness. If you scream, there is no one and nothing that will come help you. Maybe you can get the police on the phone in half a second, but they'll take 15 minutes to get to you, and that will be 15 minutes too late. If you feel that you are safe, it is an insulating feeling. It's like a shield or a bubble around you. I don't know exactly how it works, but perhaps the things that lurk around us dislike positivity. You can feel completely safe and at home with your friends, and you will be safe. You can feel safe alone in your house, and you will be safe. You can even feel safe stumbling home drunk and alone, oblivious to any danger, and you will be. Perhaps you won't be safe from human predators. When dealing with things like people who can hunt even in the light, caution is healthy. But there are things we don't understand who are attracted by our fear. To them, it is an invitation, an open door. To illustrate this, I'll tell you the story of when my shield slipped. I remember vividly it was October of last year. I was in my first year of classes with a whole new group of people. A vague acquaintance of mine invited me to his friend's 21st birthday party at a karaoke bar. I showed up at the bar at 10 o'clock at night, 40 minutes from my home. When I showed up, I didn't recognize anyone there. The acquaintance left me in the lurch, and I spent a good hour and a half trying my best to ingratiate myself on people. The group of friends were laughing and drinking, and I was on the fringe. I was embarrassed and a little depressed, so I threw myself a pity party and left early. I started to drive home, and two things happened. One, I listened to depressing music and got myself into the mindset of loneliness and isolation. Two, I noticed I was running low on gas. I knew that I still had a ways to go, so I decided to make a stop. I pulled into a gas station. I was pretty lonely, with only one attendant cleaning the coffee machines inside the stores. It was near a river and facing away from 3 acres of woods. I climbed out of the car and began to go through the process of filling the tank. I remembered the story my mom had told me of a friend she'd worked with. The friend's husband had been shot and killed while pumping gas alone at night. I felt alone. I felt isolated, without any friends or family. I felt unsafe. I finished pumping my gas. I was shaky and tired, so I went inside the station to grab a Coke and a candy bar. I don't remember saying a word to the attendant, so lost in my problems. I went back outside, and there was a man standing outside of my car, looking into the windows. It was like ice in my veins watching him. I thought of the shooting. Stupidly, I buried my trepidation. "Can I help you?" I asked. He turned and looked at me. For all appearances, he seemed like a pretty normal guy. He looked almost familiar. He wore clothes that I might expect from a stereotypical logger. Jeans, plaid shirt, that sort of thing. If it were any other context, I might have thought he was attractive. He smiled at me. "You're alone." It was a statement of fact, not a question. He spoke like you might to a cat you're trying to lure out from under the bed and take to the vet. "No, my boyfriend is in the store." I lied. "I'm waiting for him to get off work." "Off work?" the guy said, still in that awful tone. His eyes swiveled madly in his sockets, briefly, as though he was in REM sleep. "You're waiting?" "Yes," I said. He took a step closer to me. I noticed how long his arms seemed compared to the rest of his body. They seemed to almost reach mid-knee. "He's right inside. He's right inside," I repeated. "You're alone," the man said with the ghost of a laugh. His eyes were on mine. He wasn't looking at me like one might look at another person. I can't describe the look exactly. It wasn't anger or lust. It was a hunger times 1,000. It was starvation. His face was 1,000 times more angular, 1,000 times longer. "I'm not alone. Get the fuck away from me," I said, my voice a bare squeak, not as assertive as I hoped. The man's face began to droop in an exaggerated, cartoonish frown. It was almost like his eyes and skin sunk along with it. It was hard to explain. "Away," he said, like a normal voice in slow motion. I heard another voice alongside it, as though there was a second one of him, but that one was speaking right next to my ear. I did what I think anyone else would have done. I dropped everything, turned tail, and ran straight back into the little store. I panted at the attendant. "Call the police now, please. There's a guy out there harassing me." The attendant and I both turned and looked out at the car. The guy was still out there. He waved at me, that frown still on his face. My heart hammered in my chest as he began to move. Still staring straight into my eyes, he reached out his horribly long arm and opened my car door. He closed the door behind him with a slam that shook the whole car. He climbed up into the back seat and pulled up each leg, looking like a little kid waiting for a car ride. "Call the cops," I told the attendant again. "They won't come," the attendant sighed. "They can't help even if they did." "Why not?" "They can't." The attendant walked over to the gas station window, staring at my car. The thing stared back at him. I saw a mixture of anger and resentment on its face. "They won't. They can't." "What do I do then?" He turned to me. "Are you alone?" I hesitated. "Yes." "Don't do that again. Don't ever. They will come. There's sharks who will taste your blood in the water." "What does he want?" The attendant averted his eyes. "Don't go out alone again. If you do, be safe. Know you're safe. That's all you can do." I looked back at my car. The door was open. There was no man in sight. "Are you safe?" the attendant asked me. That time, I didn't shove the fear down. I breathed and released the fear and solitude into the darkness. I knew the right answer then. It was like a light. Yes. Good. I walked to the car that night, certain of my safety. There are a few certainties in life that I could be sure of, but that was one of them. As I drove away, the tall man was illuminated in my headlights, still wearing that cartoonish frown. Every corner I turned on my way home, every light I stopped at, he was there. He was in the driveway when I got home, still following, still waiting. But I'm not afraid. Are you?
This happened to me about 4 years ago. I'm 20 now, but I was 16 when this story happened to me. Me and my friends have always been interested in camping. Well, we didn't really want to go very far because we were only 16 and at the time none of us had a car. So my friend said we could go around his house and camp in his back garden. I know it isn't much, but we thought it'd be a laugh anyway. It was about 11 PM when we got to his house, and by the time we'd set up the tent and had something to eat, it was about 12:30, so we thought we'd just sit up for a bit and read some stories. That got tedious after about half an hour, so we decided to go to sleep. Well, I would say I slept for about an hour, and I woke up for no reason. I looked around and everybody else was asleep, except for one person. So just as I was about to go back to sleep, I saw something out of the corner of my eye that looked like a torch. I was about to get up, but I thought I probably shouldn't, since it was probably just his mum or dad checking up on us. I didn't want to wake anybody else up, but this was kind of starting to freak me out. Then a few minutes passed, and you know those automatic lights that you get on a shed that come on when something moves? Well, that came on, and I saw the outline of a body. It just froze. However, the most frightening thing about this is I could clearly see the outline of a knife in this person's hand. I was absolutely terrified and I screamed and woke everybody up. At this point, the person jumped over the fence and ran away. I told my friends about it, but they didn't believe me and told me I was probably having a nightmare or something. So my friends went back to sleep, but I didn't. The next day I woke up and we went in the house, and my friend's mum told us that someone just down the road got stabbed last night, and that they're in critical condition in the hospital. Me and my friends all looked at each other in disbelief, but no one said anything because we didn't want to scare her mum. This is probably one of the most frightening things that's ever happened to me. We thought by staying in the garden we'd be more safe, but clearly we're not. We have never gone camping again.
I used to work at a chip toll back when I had an eating disorder. It was my lunch break, and I was sitting down at one of those booths reading a book when this random 50-year-old guy sat in front of me. He barely had any hair. He was overweight, had bulgy eyes, big glasses and round cheeks. If anybody asked me to describe a pedophile, I would describe that guy. He asked me why I wasn't eating, and for a second, I thought that maybe he was just being nice. I think it was pretty obvious that something was wrong with me at the time. I was 5'5" and 85 pounds, but I told him that I wasn't hungry, and he said, "Of course you are," and gave me a granola bar and a bottle of water. Now the granola bar wasn't even wrapped in anything. It was in a plastic bag. The water bottle was already opened as well, and you could see that it was made to look as if it was new. I said thank you and told him that I wasn't hungry. He kept on pushing me to drink the water, saying stuff like, "Your lips look dry, drink the water, and if your mouth is dry, you won't be able to kiss as well." When I heard him say this, I almost threw up. I looked at him for around a good 30 seconds. My face obviously showed that I was disgusted by him, and he got visibly angry. He balled up his fist and started tapping my leg. He asked one more time for me to drink the water, trying to intimidate me. I told him that I didn't want to drink his water, I could get my own. I guess that it really pissed him off though, because he took the water and grabbed my face, trying to force me to drink the water. One of my co-workers saw this and ran over and grabbed me and pulled me away from this creep and yelled at him to get out of there or she was going to call the cops. 30 minutes after he left, I started throwing up everywhere. We did call the police even though he left, and I told them what he looked like. They watched the security tapes, but nothing happened. I have no idea if they ever found him or if they ever searched for him. I have seen him walk by this shop a couple of times though. He never looks directly at me. Weeks after this, I quit my job. The thing that really creeps me out is the fact that I have no idea what he had in that drink. I hate to think of what could have happened if I had drank it.